Vice President Pence, we've got one more job title for you.
Go.
Chief Strategist for the President.
Well, his guy, though, Mark Short, Pence's guy, is the legislative guy in the White House, spending most of his time in there.
He just got double duty. He just got double duty.
He may come back to the White House.
Great to see you, David. Thank you, bud.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, so remember, as David was kind of alluding to, remember this all is coming the same week that President Trump is taking incoming from really all sides. Democrats, of course, that's every day. Republicans, maybe not so surprising, some of them, but this many Republicans coming out to condemn his remarks about Charlottesville, that is surprising. And then there is also this, including condemnation coming from the mother of the woman who was killed in the Charlottesville car attack. She says that President Trump may call, that she is no longer going to answer the phone. Listen to this.
I'm not talking to the president now. I'm sorry. After what he said about my child, and it's not that I saw somebody else's tweets about him. I saw an actual clip of him at a press conference equating the protesters like Ms. Heyer with the KKK and the white supremacists. Think before you speak.
Let me bring the panel back with me, and we added a special guest, SE Cupp, CNN political commentator and columnist at the New York Daily News. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
All right, so SE, you love it making an entrance, so you get the first one. With the comments that you heard from Susan Bro, it does make me wonder, can the president fix this, even fix that?
No, I think he made very clear in that last presser, the last of his many statements,
The Tuesday one, yeah.
That's his authentic self. And any attempts to moderate or regulate or, put a governor on in sort of NASCAR speak, it's not going to last. It's not going to work. That's not who Trump is. I think we got the most authentic answer from him in that presser. And that answer was that he blames Heather Heyer herself for the violence that befell her, because you can't say there's blame on both sides without also blaming Heather herself. By the way, an American citizen who died on American soil at the hands of a Nazi in 2017. I take your point that it is remarkable how many Republicans have come out to denounce him. It should not be remarkable. It should be the easiest decision and the safest space to live in today in America to condemn neo-Nazis, to denounce neo-Nazis and white supremacists. So I applaud Republicans for doing the not brave, but the only thing they should do.
The normal thing.
In en masse. That is good to see. But what can change Trump? I don't think much.
Rich, what do you think about this? Because obviously, when I have some of President Trump's strongest supporters on, they will say he absolutely has condemned it. Everyone is now taking his words out of context, and they also say that everyone, meaning I think the accusation is moderate Republicans, the media, and the left, so looping a lot of people together, are trying to basically politicize the death of this woman. Is there another side? Am I missing something?
No, my readers are pretty far to my right. Everybody's far to my right, maybe, including you. But
I don't know about me.
No. I'm the only person far to your right.
Yeah.
But here's what I've responded to them with. Complete this sentence. The only thing worse than a Nazi is blank. And there is nothing. There's nothing to fill that blank. And I absolutely agree that I wish more Republicans would have come out. As a Hill guy, I understand why members of the House are waiting to see which way the...
did you hear what Newt said today?
I did.
His former boss, Newt Gingrich, former Republican Speaker of the House, he said, and he's a confidant of Trump's, he said that he doesn't think that Trump realizes how seriously, the kind of serious trouble that he's actually in.
We were watching the green room, and I said, there's a very famous statement about LBJ watching Walter Cronkite about the war in Vietnam, and Lyndon Johnson said, if we've lost Walter Cronkite, we've lost the war. And I said, if the president's lost Newt, this is big trouble.
Mike, from a Democrat's perspective, you now have Mitt Romney calling on the president to apologize. You have Bob Corker, who went further, and he chooses his words very carefully. And that's why it has really stuck out to all of us who follow the Hill, calling into question the president's competence on this. As a Democrat, what do you think when you hear those statements?
Well, I thought we were coming to a tipping point for about a
12-hour period after he seemed to go off the rails again. And I'm not sure that we are, because I have yet to see a high-ranking administration official resign as a result of what they've heard from the president. I do think that Bob Corker, and I think...
I'm going to push back on that, because there's been a lot of push for Jewish members of the president's inner circle and the cabinet to speak up and to resign. And some of the reporting I've seen is that they feel an obligation to stick around because we're at a dangerous moment in our country, and they don't want to let it go. Is there something to that?
No, I mean, look, so if folks feel that there's somehow the bulwark against what could be the total and utter catastrophe that could be Donald Trump totally unhinged, well, my God, I mean, I'm not sure what more we could see right now. Look, I think Bob Corker, I think Tim Scott, I think that as sitting senators, I was quite impressed with their willingness to actually speak up and be heard. I mean, when I hear that Mitch McConnell is sort of off the record upset, you know, I'm upset when my kid draws on the couch. Like, the President of the United States just basically equated Nazis with protesters fighting Nazis. So at the end of the day, I was hopeful for a moment that perhaps some of these administration folks would actually not just tell off the record how upset they were or distraught or concerned about the president. I think more people need to say what Bob Corker is saying, that maybe, and I think it was quite insightful that a sitting Republican senator suggested that the man may not be competent, that the man's sort of sanity might not all be in place.
A man who was also up for re-election in 2018. I mean, that's
correct.
That is a huge part of that. He's in a cycle, exactly. Peter, with all of that said, what do you think happens when they get back from their month-long recess, when they get back to Washington? They've all been away, it's all been statements, and then you've got a couple of people coming on camera making statements about this. What happens when they come back to Washington? Does one good tax bill wash everything away? Or is it gotten to a place where Bob Corker cannot stand at a press conference with Donald Trump because he's questioned his competence? What do you think happens?
Look, the vast majority of Republicans supported that health care bill, right? Even though basically even the conservative intellectuals mostly said it's terrible, right? So I don't think there's really any reason to believe that Republicans are not going to support a Trump tax bill that cuts taxes, especially for high-income people. That's what they believe. I think what we just don't know, I don't think any of this is going to come to a head until Mueller's report comes out. Okay. Once Mueller's report comes out, if it's as damning as many people think it will be. It's interesting that Trump's, the guy who helped write The Art of the Deal was on Anderson Cooper last night and basically said, look, I know Donald Trump. When you start digging around into Donald Trump's business dealings, he said, I think Donald Trump will resign rather than go to jail. So that's how bad he thinks Mueller's report's going to be. If at that point...
He doesn't know anything about the report, though, let's be honest.
But he knows about Donald Trump. Right. Okay. We don't know how far Mueller's going to go. But I think that will be, it seems to me, the crucial moment, because then you will have something to hold it on. Democrats may well then push for impeachment. Maybe they will have the House by then. Then I think if some Republicans want to A, take revenge, and B, do something for the good of the country. But I can't imagine it happening before then.
What do you think, Izzy?
I think if Republican lawmakers think they are going to come back to the Hill after resource, to business as usual and dinner at the Willard and, life goes on, I think they are in for a serious reckoning. They are going to be asked on camera every time they get up to speak what they think of the president's statements. They're going to be asked on record. You know what it's like to roam around the halls of Capitol Hill, pounding down a lawmaker.
I've stood outside many a restroom.
Right, we've done that. I mean, they're not going to be able to avoid this. I don't think it's going to take that long for this to really come to a head. If they're not hearing it back home in their districts, they're going to hear it when they get to D.C. and the media finally starts asking them.
But they will have a bit. Let me just say this: they will have a better feel for what they're, especially in the House, what their district thinks, having been home for the last 3 weeks.
And let's be clear, I mean, the polling is... Donald Trump...
The polling is important. The polling is very important. Let me say the polling first. Yes. The latest poll from CBS is that a majority of the country, the majority of those who were polled, disapproved of the president's statement and how he's reacted to Charlottesville. A majority of those, 67% of Republicans, though, approved of how the president responded to the events in Charlottesville. Continue.
Right, that's key. And also, Trump did something which was, in a way, politically shrewd, although I think kind of odious, which is that he focused the attention on the question of General Lee, right? And then moved it to statues, then moved it to George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, right?
Yes.
So how do we think? It's obvious, it's overwhelming that Republicans will support the idea of keeping, most Republicans in polling support the idea of keeping Confederate statues up. And certainly if you push the question, if they start to think, although I think it's bogus, that it is an assault on Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, if you frame it that way, as some other networks are, and Breitbart will, I actually don't necessarily see that Republicans are going to be under so much pressure here.
But on this one, who follows whom? On this one, is that what leaders are? Do they lead and then the base follows?
How much leading have the Republicans done when it comes?
Or does the base have to tell them and then they follow the base?
I mean, I think we have evidence over the last 2 years of Donald Trump. How many Republican politicians wouldn't endorse the man?
But the statue thing is a real red herring. Donald Trump is using it to distract from the Nazi stuff. Democrats are taking the bait, though. And so now there's these rabbit hole conversations about blowing up Mount Rushmore and changing Faneuil Hall and Yawkey Way. I mean, kind of nonsense stuff that's hiding probably a more serious conversation. We have actual Nazis to talk about. Why are Democrats taking Trump's bait?
It stopped being about statues. I've said this before. It stopped being about statues when they started bringing out swastikas.
That's why he's president. Hillary isn't, because he can do that.
Yes, because he's adept at that, and as you say, odious.
Well, because look, let's be. I mean, look. So there are the political tactics of this, and there's the reality of this. The reality is a statue memorializing Robert E. Lee does not tell you anything about the Confederacy. You know what would? A chain would, or a slave ship would.
These conversations have been going on for a long time, and they're good conversations to be having. Where are the appropriate places for these Confederate monuments?
If anywhere.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, why is it a bunch of young white men in America in 2017 are sort of so ideologically driven to show up with a swastika to worship a statue? You cannot walk away from the symbolism of the statue as the perpetuator, as sort of this mythology about this lost sort of the lost cause is what it is, but this sort of lost white identity. So you do have to address that. But I do agree, Donald Trump, we should be talking about Nazis. Nazis worshiping white supremacist statues. That's the conversation we should be having.
So Democrats today introduced trying to move towards censure. Why?
Well, look. Let's see where the Republicans actually then come down.
Get him on the record.
Tim Scott's out there now saying that he's a problem with what the president said. You have Bob Corker out there saying he's a problem with what the president said. You have members of the House now saying it. So let's actually get it on the record.
What's your guess, Rich? What was it for Tim Scott and Bob Corker? Are they trying to make it more comfortable for Republicans to say what they're saying privately, or do you think it's something of like an intervention? This is how Donald Trump communicates. We're going to communicate with him through the television saying this.
I've known Corker for a long time, and he's a stand-up guy. He's worked his way through the system.
Yeah.
He's not, like some people that we all know, a guy that elbows his way in front of the cameras. He's perfectly happy to work.
Like that.
I think you might be talking about your former boss. I don't know. Keep going.
And for him, and you may have noticed it was at a Rotary Club. I thought that was really,
in Tennessee.
In Tennessee. I mean, it was the most basic political operation you can possibly. He's home for the break, talking to the Rotary Club, and he decided he has just had enough. And I think that may well give a lot of members of the Senate and the House political cover, because he's not a guy that races out to just say something.
He's not Lindsey Graham, right?
And we may well see.
Well, so what?
Just stop. Okay, here we go.